Hello Runescape, Wilmist here with a new video, and how is everyone doing? In the 13 years we've had of Runescape, there's been a large set of items who has had some very interesting touches to them. Things like wasn't a big deal maybe 10 years ago, but today is pretty cool to think about. Because of this, with the help from game enthusiast Balor, we have collected 10 interesting item facts. Let's do this. Number 10. The Kalphite Queen Head Dialogue. It is possible to get a Kalphite Queen head and place it on your playground house, and you will be able to talk to it. Before the release of Rarest, it would say something along the lines of, "Still awaiting the return of Rarest." After the actual Rarest release, the quote was removed, and nothing more is worked on related to the relationship between Rarest and the Kalphite Queen. It would be really interesting though to see if anything more would actually happen here at some point. Number 9. The Ring of Kinship. Though this is already a pretty known fact, it's definitely something worth mentioning on this list. If you attempt to use a ring on a fire, it will give you a special message of a text being written on the ring. However, if you take the ring to the wilderness volcano, it will say there's a hidden text on the ring, saying, "Nothing interesting happens." There are quite a few items in the game that has funny quotes like this, for example a herring used an oak, but the Ring of Kinship is definitely the most funny one. Number 8. The Measure. Especially upon release of the one-of-a-kind quest, players did not know that this was actually the first Elder artifact in a player's possession to keep. If you don't know, an Elder artifact is a godly item in Runescape lore created by the Elder gods who also created Gielinor. The current owners of one of the 12 artifacts are all gods or godlike. Because of the world wakes, the player cannot become a god, but it's pretty certain that if the world wakes did not happen, the player would be a god by now. A fun fact, however, if you use the measure to talk to Seren, Seren's dialogue will say, "That is one of their artifacts! It should not be in the hand of a mortal," which is a good thing seeing that we respawn every time we die. Yeah, right, mortals. Number 7. Ghast's Rotting Rears. In 2010, a player called World War I decided to check if a ghast could rot Easter eggs currently worth 52 million GP. It was also checked that the ghast could rot a pumpkin, worth 157 million GP. This means that if you decide to run around in a Mauritania swamp with one of these items, you're very likely to lose quite a lot of money. This is a mistake that, unbelievably enough, has happened quite a few times earlier. I do really feel sorry for the players, even though I don't really understand why anyone at all would be running through the swamp with like eggs and pumpkins. Number 6. The Rotten Potato. A few years back, there was a bug recorded on video where a player stole a secret item from a Gmod by pickpocketing. The item was called Rotten Potato, and when the players used it, it was given the ability to spawn various items and do some pretty special things. When the video was uploaded, there was a massive discussion going on in the RuneScape forums, where players were discussing how legit the video actually was. A lot of people thought it was fake, but just as many people thought it was real. Eventually, Jaggers came forward and said that the items was real, and showed the players how it worked. Because of massive hate towards the Gmod who was involved, the Gmod had to close his friend chat and stopped posting on the forums for a very long time. Obviously, bug abuse is against the RuneScape rules, and everyone involved with the bug was banned from the game. Number 5. The Cooking Cape Rarity. This is more of a fun fact rather than a straight up fact, but it really makes you think. Skill capes are extremely popular in the game, but did you know that the untrimmed cooking cape is actually one of the rarest capes today? Over 50% of the active player base has 299s or more, where most untrimmed capes you will see is fletching, farm making, or something rarer. An untrimmed cooking cape today is actually a noteworthy design. Take a screenshot, everyone. Number 4. The Staff of Armady. Before the RuneScape lore got as deep as it is, the Staff of Armady was actually useless, except when used in the Temple of Ikov. When this quest was released in 2002, the player could wield the staff, but it was shown as an ordinary, boring staff. A few years later, when it was made important, players could no longer wield it and it was graphically updated. I think it's pretty cool to consider how pointless such an important lore item was before. This is also the first ever Elder artifact the player had, but it was not the player's own to keep. Number 3. The rarest existing item. What the rarest item today in the game is something that's been discussed for a while, which is not something everyone fully agrees on, so I'll simply tell you. Technically and directly, the most rare item currently in-game is the gold gnome hat from 2010 with only 6 owners, where most of them has already left the game. However, the rarest item that people could at some point get as many as they wanted of is a warship. Before the removal of it in 2004, any player could obtain as many as they possibly wanted of this item. Today, however, it is the rarest unlimited item in the game, but there are more than 6 owners of it. Number 2. The Purple Phat Rarity. This was investigated in the EOC Combat Beta in 2012, and it was checked that the Purple Party Hat is actually the rarest party hat to obtain from a cracker. The only reason it's the cheapest one is because of the mass duplicating of it in Classic. This means there is still a lot of duplicated party hats in the game. This bug still affects the game economy 11 years after it happened, and it's not likely it will ever become the most expensive party hat ever again. Number 1. The mint cake currency. In early 2010 and before that, the mint cake was a form of currency used among the expensive traders. For example, to pay for items that surpassed the GP limit of 2.1 billion GP. The reason for this was because of how rare the item was to get from Gnome Restaurant. In a change in 2010, it was made a lot easier to receive the cake from the minigame, making the value drop drastically. Today, however, summoning shards has replaced the cakes as an optional currency. Well guys, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this countdown. Keep in mind that there's probably a ton of more really interesting item facts out there, but these are some which I found really interesting myself. If you have any ideas for other countdown videos, please let me know and I'll look into it in the future. My name is Woolmissit, and I'll see you guys later.